I have an underdog mentality, and that's what BetterCo Ventures is about. And what we're saying is, none of us come to the proverbial table with our hands out.
Right. Yeah.
We come with our hands full.
Yeah.
And what's within our hands is something that you've never seen before. Okay, and so the more you can extract value from what's within that hand, whether it's unique insight about your segment, unique connectivity to your community, a unique capability that only you have, that's where the value extraction really becomes beneficial to all parties.
Welcome back. This is Marketing Mentality. I'm Desmon Walker. I have my co-host Alan Shelton, and we both have the pleasure of being with a very, very, very special guest in Jason Smith.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us, Jason.
I appreciate you guys.
Welcome to the pod, man.
Big time. Absolutely, man. This is great. I feel special.
Esteemed gentleman, high caliber professional.
Thank you, man.
Visionary.
Man.
And we'll get all into it. So thank you for joining us, Jason, man. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to learn about, from where you've been to what you're working on now. And,
of course,
all the philosophies that are up here, that's going to make a difference for the world, man, as we see it. So
I appreciate it.
Ready to get on into it?
Absolutely, man. Alan, you ready?
I'm ready, man.
Okay, let's chop it up.
All right, let's chop it up. So first and foremost, Jason, just tell us about yourself, man. When people ask you what the Jason Smith story is, as you like to put it, what do you tell them?
Yeah, no, I tell people about really me being a young person up to developing and maturing, and also now accepting, the midlife stage of my life. So as a kid, grew up right here in Chicago, south side of Chicago. If you guys know the Inglewood neighborhood, that's where I grew up. And then spent a lot of time out east and developed my career there, working mostly within large holding companies. Also, if you guys are familiar with Horizon Media, spent a lot of time there as a pretty notable independent. Then now, I would say like in the last 10 years or so, a big part of my work and career has been about family and also just creating, right? So whether that be within an agency, I've had the wonderful opportunity of working within Publicis Media, which I think is in a fantastic environment. And then also just working on building smaller businesses. I spent some time right during the COVID period with Location Sciences and launched location data verification business and just doing good community work to just help make all of us better wherever I can.
Yeah. I love that, man. First and foremost, it's dope having you on the podcast, our podcast, because we love people that look like us elevating and showing us something that we normally don't see in the world, right?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, man, I mean, you mentioned Southside, you mentioned Inglewood, you mentioned your career trajectory, and we had a chance to talk off camera about just life, man. And you're a very stand-up individual, man. I can tell. So can you speak about your journey from a career standpoint? Like, what mentality, pun intended, did you have from the start of your career to where you are now and where you want to go that allowed you to elevate where you are now?
I appreciate that. And it actually starts with, sometimes you have to reflect on yourself through what others share with you about yourself. Look externally, and then you go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And I'm really vulnerable. In my life, I have probably too many coaches, life coach. Listen, I will be very honest about this stuff, just like spiritual coach. And I was actually speaking with recently, and I'll try my best to put her work to practice in our conversation, just a vocal coach and, how we speak. And we talked earlier about a book I'm reading by James Nestor about breathing. And as we were going through our work, Alan, she kind of gave a perspective about my identity and what I bring into the world. And she referenced this athlete mindset, and I think that's been a part of me. And I break down the athlete mindset in maybe a couple categories, for better or for worse. One is like a spirit of competition, a spirit of wanting to win through the ideals of collaboration. So if you've ever been in a team sport, if you don't know your role and you also don't have some familiarity with what others are doing, it's going to be really difficult for you to progress down the field. And so I think that competitive spirit has been a really big part of it. And then another aspect of athletic mindset is being thoughtful about not only the current play, but 5, 6, 7, 10 plays ahead. Well, what is going to impact my career in this industry, not just today, but for years to come? And then how am I training to be prepared for that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then I would say the last thing about the competitive mindset is a constant sense of curiosity. And that has absolutely defined my career, for better or for worse. If you were to pick up the phone and call some people that have worked with me, some may say that curiosity has driven us to wild success over the course of my career, helped generate millions of revenue for companies and help drive client satisfaction for a number of different brands. But with that does come some periods of discomfort, right?
Yeah.
And so that's been a very big part of my life, is embracing discomfort, really challenging myself to continue to be curious, and then being in an environment where we're always looking for ways to be agile. Adaptability is going to be critical to anything that any of us do, not only in work, but just being parents, being involved with our spouses.
Right.
And so I think those are things that I like to think represent a bit of my journey and how I present myself. But it was interesting to see it categorized in this sort of athletic mindset that I'm talking to now with one of my coaches. So that's kind of what comes to mind, Alan. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. We always use sports analogies in our agency, in our space, because sports is a microcosm for life as a whole, man. So I love that you said that competitive spirit, right? You got to appreciate where you're at in your journey, but you have to depend on other people to be the best version of yourself. You have to understand not just your role, but other people's role, so you could be better, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's beautiful to hear, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You also mentioned adaptability.
Yes.
Right. So speaking of which, you've said that advertising at this juncture is at a breaking point, right? Be it, the friction between kind of where the market sits right now with the demand and the need for speed, so to speak, with technology and so on, but also kind of that same old guard as far as the infrastructure of the industry and the reaction to it. Can you speak to why, like right now, is critical for, whether it's agencies or brands, there's a need to better understand that?
Absolutely. No, I think it's a really good question. And listen, I'll share my thoughts, but you guys are pretty smart too. If there's something that you guys feel is keeping you up late at night too, let's chop it up. But, I think some of the things that are keeping my mind going around disruption in our industry being categorized as core advertising, media and marketing, and creative services. So those are 3 categories that I think about. And when I look at those, I go, we got these really 3 big disruptors that have been challenging us forever, but now it butts up against this emergence of technology. Get ready for the buzzword, everybody. Artificial intelligence.
Uh-oh, there we go.
Right, okay.
5 minutes in.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. And I think the 3 things that really are disrupting where our industry is going to be, not just where it is now, one is just time.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about it this way. For you all and what you're doing with your business, you're an amazing agency and you spend time trying to find great brands that can work with you. Yeah? And you also spend time trying to find great partners that can help your business grow. And what is really making our industry tough is the amount of time it takes to find those partnerships. So I'll give you an example. Say a standard RFP process in the world of agency right now.
Explain RFP.
Yeah, great point. So RFP is essentially a request for proposal. So say you are a small business out there or a mid-sized business and you have a need for some type of advertising solution. What you want to likely do is put that interest out for competition. Who wants to bid on your problem so that they can solve it for you?
Yeah.
And so that request puts out an opportunity for anyone that is intrigued by your challenge to propose how they can solve it. Fair?
Yeah.
And so that whole process right now, working within a large holding company, mid-sized holding company, that process, Alan, can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 24 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, we know.
Okay. So you think about that's a half of a year.
Yep.
And if we're referencing what has become the most prominent part of our world today, the rise of innovative companies is at an unprecedented volume. And those companies, just like yours, they need to move a hell of a lot faster than half a year. Okay? Right. So number one is just the amount of time it takes to find partners that can help you grow your business. Second thing is the amount of costs it takes to do that.
Yeah.
So within these proposal request processes, I'll give you a good example. If you are an agency and you're simply responding to a request for a proposal from insert blank amazing business, it can cost you anywhere from $250,000 up over $1 million to simply manage the process to do this. Not mentioning your arbitrage, just on top of that, through consultants that take a split to make sure they can manage this pretty well for you. Okay, so this is a cost prohibitive for companies that want to really up their game. They may not even be able to get a seat at the table because they just can't meet those costs. Wow. And then the last, I think, is just use of talent. Okay. So you all run a great business. And what you want to be able to do is go, hey, John, Sally, Sarah, how can I get you to do more of the big strategic thinking for our business as opposed to hours and hours and hours of mundane auditory tasks around producing a PowerPoint, managing an email request, right? And so I think right now, why I reference AI is where AI really plays a key role is around helping the operational success around all three of those variables. So on one hand, we're at a point of disruption and maybe a point of threat. But if your mind is in the right place, I think we're at the best moment of opportunity that we've ever seen in our industry. So those have been things that have been heavily on my mind. I love you guys' thoughts.
No, you mentioned a great point. Like, we know quite a bit about the RFP process, right? We're not an old agency, but we've seen enough going through this RFP process to know it can be very tedious, right? Long hours, staying up, trying to put the right words in the right place and really allow people, companies, these brands to see you as an agency, right? To say like, hey, this is the company that we're going to choose to take us wherever, right? And a lot of it, as you said, is those tasks, right? The presentation there, as we talked about, making sure that's on point, right? We've done a lot of work, right? So what work are we going to put in there to state that point in less than 50 slides or whatever the case may be? But what really has me thinking these days, Jason, is the fact that a lot of marketers, a lot of people are afraid of AI a little bit, right? And I think they're afraid not because they don't see the value in it. I think anybody that has eyes and ears can see the value of AI in some way.
That's right.
But I think the fear comes, and I think it's even less of, oh, this AI is going to take my job. I think the fear comes from not understanding how to use it and how to use it effectively.
Absolutely.
Right? I think we put these guardrails on AI right now when it's literally no guardrails on AI. Like, you probably put guardrails around AI, you're literally not using AI how you need to be using AI. So from an agency perspective, as agency owners, we're looking to encourage our team and encourage the collaborators, hey, this is how you need to use AI, right? Because it can be helpful if you do it right, but it also be detrimental or make you look like you don't know what you're talking about if you don't use it right, and which can hurt the business.
That's right.
Because the more AI develops, the more people are using it, and the more people understand how to use it and understand how when people don't understand how to use it. And that can seem like you're behind the times, even that AI is so new. You can be behind in something that's so new.
That's right.
Right? Because it's not going anywhere, and people are learning very, very quickly about it. So they can spot an imposter. Like, oh, you don't know how to use AI.
That's right.
I see you try to use it here, but I can tell you used it, which is, which eliminates the entire point. You know what I'm saying? So it's a balancing act in terms of how informative can we be about AI, right? To be experts, right? Be experts and then not experts at the same time, because it's going to change again. That's right. So we got to keep up. Right. The internet is already hard to keep up with. Now AI is just like moving at the speed of sound, like just so fast. Right. So that's what we're balancing right now within ourselves, within our agency, and understanding how to manage that. Right. So it's not easy, but it's needed. It's necessary.
It's absolutely key, man. Big time.
Yeah. I say, AI is one of those phenomenons that only come around once every century, the way I see it. And when you look at, past history, right, and innovation and technology, there's always been a point where people hesitated to adopt it.
Yeah.
It's human nature, right? Yeah. When electricity, was invented, think people weren't still lighting candles for a very long time.
That's right.
That's right. I was listening to something this morning that talked about before automobiles, there were people that, were paid to pick up horse behind, what they left behind, right? All these different roles, jobs, industries have always had to, kind of be forced to accept the new technology, right? Whether we wanted it or not. And I see AI as the same, right? You mentioned the RFP process and how it's impacting or will impact that. I think that it's the same case where you want to circumvent the process, right? You want to. It's one thing if it requires that amount of time, but why take, 10 times as much if it's not necessary,
For sure.
So it'll be interesting, man. The only thing I can say is we have to run towards it.
Yeah,
I think
away from it.
I think if you don't mind, I think you have to run towards it. And I think if we stay with that sort of athletic mindset, one of the books that I really love, and I'm sure some of the listeners are familiar with it, is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, founder of Nike.
Yep.
And, if you read that book, really what it challenges you to think about is how just small incremental adjustments to a product when you're in the face of like larger scale competition can really help you differentiate. And I say that when I think about, Alan, what you referenced about like, how do we apply this? How do we embrace this? How do we get our culture to really think about AI? And it's really, it's inspiring me right now. And it's inspiring me to think how I can, and our businesses can really help clients think differently. And I'll give you that Shoe Dog example in our terms. So part of an athletic mindset is trying to figure out where you can play your game really well. Okay. So listen, I played college football. You want to hear something funny? I've never, ever run faster than like a 4.9. I think someone gave me an extra 0.2 in a 40. Okay. I've never been fast. I've never been strong. Okay. And guess what? I never tried to play those games. And in our industry now, there is a game to be played around how you win as an agency. The large holding companies, they're going to win on scale, okay? They're going to win on cost. So commercial capability, how effective can your cost of goods be for your customer, okay? Everyone wants the best price. And where does that come from? Who has the scale? Just like every day you wake up and you tell yourself, I love to shop at that small business, but Amazon has it just a little bit cheaper. Okay, and then get it to me a little bit faster. That's the holding company example versus the small and mid-sized agency. Okay, but where do you see some of your most prolific small businesses in your day-to-day world make an impact on you? They're actually doubling down on the things that they can do really well. Okay, and so some of those things in the agency world I think are around transparency. Okay, specialization and speed. Right? Those are things that those large, I'll call them cruise ship companies, and I've worked for them, and I love them. Okay. However, there's a lot of arbitrage, and not arbitrage. I don't want to get my butt kicked. There's just a lot of weight that holds that speed down. Whereas if you're smaller and nimble, you double down on that. So I'll give you an example where AI can, I think, be just such an amazing conduit for emerging brands and agencies that support them. Take a pharmaceutical category as an example. Something that, so I know that we talked a little bit about this, Desmond and Alan, but something I'm working on now are these two businesses captured in one holding company called BetterCo Ventures. And so we're supporting categories like pharmaceutical category, retail category, and CPG. So take pharmaceuticals as an example. If you're a pharmaceutical company, this will shock you. If you look at the pipeline of drugs that are coming into our communities, into our world, over 60% of the pipeline drugs that are coming to market, they're not coming from the huge Novartis, the GSKs, the Pfizers. They're coming from these innovative, emerging pharmaceutical companies, okay? And so what these guys are actually trying to do is they go, hey, the legal review for us just to be able to tell you that our messaging around this drug meets all the requirements of the government. When you hear that commercial and go, take this drug, but I'm going to tell you for 30 minutes, it might kill you, kind of thing. Okay.
And they say it all fast.
They say it all real fast. Okay.
It's like I see some language at the bottom of the screen. I just can't actually.
You don't know what it is. All right. But in fairness to the category, that is a government requirement. It's to tell you all of these required elements that a patient needs to know. And there are legal processes that can take you anywhere from a month to 3 months to simply get that approved, Alan. And so going back to your question about how does AI impact this small or mid-sized business, I go double down on your company's ability to specialize in that problem. That problem. Because why? That 60% of emerging pharmaceutical companies, they don't have the time and cost to get involved in these big RFPs.
Yeah.
They don't have the time and cost to be able to go out and wait for 3 months for this to be approved. They have to be rapid in market. Double down on a specialty that only your business can deliver. That's a way to take advantage of AI. Do you want to be spending all your time figuring out how can you make your cost more effective through some pricing module, through some AI system? Maybe, but that's maybe not your game, okay? Right. How do you double down on operationally? How do you guys or other companies show that all these processes around, say, a retailer as an example, a retailer, they've got 15 seconds to get us to make a decision when we're at point of sale.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have 3 months to figure out how do we optimize for the holiday sale that we have going on. That data is coming in for them on an hourly, minute by minute, second by second basis. Right. Double down on you being able to look at supply chain dynamics that can help you optimize how your media is optimizing in real time against that. You see what I'm saying? That's the competitive athletic mindset. It's going, where is the niche that I can actually really focus on with my business to become not only an option, but the option for what they need. And that's why what we're doing within this BetterCo Ventures, we're focusing on highlighting that aspect of opportunity for companies that want to compete in that sandbox. Right. And I just think it's a remarkable time. Probably I liken this to the foundation of electricity. It really is. You know, imagine a business then that couldn't turn lights on, that couldn't afford to be able to light up the space in which they service their companies and service their partners. The moment that became available, the playing field was leveled.
Wow.
Okay, so those are some of my thoughts on this. But I love that reference, Adam. I love it.
No, definitely. You mentioned a lot of good points, man. I love your passion. Like, we love talking to brainiacs or like masterminds on this podcast that really get the passion, man. Because you can tell when someone doesn't get it or doesn't have the passion to learn or be curious, as you said before. What I want to hear about, man, you mentioned 3 big pillars, right? You mentioned pharma, you mentioned CPG, you mentioned retail, right? Can you speak about, we're talking about shifting and moving and mindsets. Can you talk about how those industries have changed from your vantage point over time, the last 10 years, call it?
Absolutely. No, I mean, we'll just start in general with pharmaceutical category, like I mentioned. You know, right now, we're also in an interesting time just from an administrative perspective. And so we'll not touch on politics on this conversation, but whatever your political opinion is, what we do know is that this existing administration is starting to change the dynamics around how pharmaceuticals pay a responsibility to their patients. Okay, whatever you think about that, whether it's vaccines, whether it be other treatments for patients, our administration is saying that the costs behind that, accessibility. So think about mom trying to get treatment at her local doctor through her HMO plan. How is that cost accessible for her? The drugs and treatments that we get, and then the transparency behind what the drugs can actually do for us as patients. So there's a changing dynamic around that within the category. And what that means from what we were seeing at BetterCo Ventures is an opportunity for the marketplace, being agencies and supplier partners, to think about how you can be faster, more adaptive, more agile around what may be a completely new administrative policy tomorrow. So if you've built all your creative, you've built all your workflows, you've built, all of your consumer insight around a marketplace and a dynamic that can be changed on a dime with the new administrative policy. If you don't have dynamic ways to work around that, you're left in the dust.
Wow.
Okay? Say the second thing really around, I put CPG and retail a little bit of the same category. What's happening here is now we have a supply dynamic, and where we're going, we remember in COVID, what you bought in 2019 from the local grocery store, right now it costs at least 2 to 3 times more.
Today,
and so
it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And so what we're dealing with now in the CPG and retail example, back to that 15 seconds to make an impact, is now you're a challenger brand and you're fighting for shelf space right next to the larger CPGs. How do you compete on price? How do you compete on consumer variables? And being able to have the operations with your partner to make those decisions faster, right? So even a basic retail example that maybe you've heard about, if you ever buy tickets from a StubHub, as an example, that's a retailer. And what they're experimenting now with the use of AI is something that has been present globally for many years and happens behind the scenes, but maybe it's more forthcoming, is dynamic pricing. Okay, how do you interpret and how do you develop operations, and how do you have technology for you to be able to embed what you see from your sales team, your field force, your POS systems into your marketing and media delivery technology, so that you're not only optimizing against what you see, Alan and Desmond, but you're actually predicting what you need to do to stay ahead of the competition.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I think is really representing just such an incredible opportunity that matches up to your question, Alan, around where we're seeing macro behaviors that are changing the way that we operate as businesses.
Yeah. So to touch on that before I let Des go, what if I'm a local business or I'm a talented entrepreneur that has a dope product, right? And I have dreams and goals of being in the big retailers, right, around the world, which is anybody's dream that has a dope product and wants to mass produce it. What advice would you give them, or like what would be some steps that they could take, especially in this changing CPG retail world now?
I'll tell you this. I'll speak from the expertise I have.
Yeah.
And the expertise that I have and that I bring to the table is really around marketing and media, operations and technology. Yeah. And so when I do talk to businesses, and I'm talking to a number now, so one of our solutions that we're bringing to the market is called Opternal. It looks at how we can streamline operations within some of these businesses so that they can move faster, more intelligently, and with stronger data. Yeah. So what we do talk to those businesses about is, how do you monetize the effectiveness of the speed of your insight? That makes sense? Okay, so you're a small business. You're trying to get into your local Target with the new hair product that you have. Guess what? You know more about that niche segment than Target does. Because you're engaging with that segment
hold on.
every day.
Say that part again.
You know more about that niche Target than Target does.
Wow.
Okay? And so taking pride in that by investing in that data and insight. So when you do come to the table with the large big box company that you need for distribution, where is your asset that you can trade on? Everything is a tradable asset. Yeah. And if you know so much about this particular subsegment of customers that want this product and have a passion for it, how do you bring that asset to bear so that the relationship feels mutually beneficial? Yeah. And so to add on where I guess my expertise and our company's expertise comes in is enabling you with technology to be able to streamline access to that insight and be able to produce efficient takeaways that benefit not only you as a small business trying to break in, but also your distribution partner that needs that also to scale, not just with you, but their portfolio of partners. So I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
It gives the small guy something to leverage.
You have to be able to come to the table with something that can be beneficial to not only you, but your partners. And that's a business lesson, right? And like we talk about that all the time, Desmond, with the work we do with Chicago Brothers and our community is, we're not, and I'm speaking in terms of an underdog. I have an underdog mentality. And that's what BetterCo Ventures is about, is working with the underdogs. Yeah. And what we're saying is none of us come to the proverbial table with our hands out. Right. Yeah. We come with our hands full. And what's within our hands is something that you've never seen before. Okay, and so the more you can extract value from what's within that hand, whether it's unique insight about your segment, unique connectivity to your community, a unique capability that only you have, that's where the value extraction really becomes beneficial to all parties involved.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And that problem-solving mentality that you clearly have too makes all the difference as well.
Absolutely.
Talk to people about this all the time, whether it's from the perspective of entrepreneurship and wanting to start a business, right? Or it's wanting to come to any table as a professional in any setting, like you said, looking for what's in it for me, or I want to do this just because. But it's not about that. It's about what are you bringing to someone's life, their livelihood, or their business that they didn't have before, and how it makes it better.
That's right. Absolutely.
Whether it's your newfound ventures or just your way of thinking, it's very much rooted in putting that value in the table and actually solving a need that wasn't there.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better.
Something I did want to go back to, you mentioned this dynamic pricing. You mentioned dynamic pricing, yes. Right? You spoke from a business perspective what dynamic pricing is. What about for a consumer? Can you actually practically explain what dynamic pricing is? And as a consumer, if I'm seeing a price change as I'm buying an airline ticket, what that actually means. Absolutely. And why that happens. Why is it twice as much when I go back to it?
For sure. Yeah. So it's a really good question, because what many just average everyday consumers are going to start to be confronted with, and I think it's fair, is this conversation around, let's keep it simple. When you talk to ChatGPT, the questions that will arise is, where does that data go?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm talking to ChatGPT. I'm sharing, I'll give you a good example. I just did this 36-hour endurance event. I've never done anything like that before. So I'm looking for all the products that I need. You know, what shoes do I need? What raincoat do I need? You know, what kind of camelback do I need to make sure I'm prepared and nourished on the mountain? Mm-hmm. And so as I'm doing that, I'm feeding ChatGPT or other large language models. So when we're talking to our audiences, you may hear an acronym LLM. Yep. Those large language models are essentially using an aggregate of language distribution across the web and internet and other assets to be able to algorithmically give an analysis of how that may predict better outcomes, better suggestions, better answers for us. Mm-hmm. And so I'm using an LLM to kind of give me the better answer on how do I find all this stuff I'm supposed to need, right? Yeah. And I ask myself, where does that go? You know, is that going to make my next shopping experience tell me I've been looking for these Merrell shoes for the last 3 weeks. Now it's going to cost me more money. Okay, so I start with that because to your question about what does it mean for customers now, don't worry about that because even in today's climate, simple things like cookies, if you don't know what cookies are, when you go to a web browser, if you search on Best Buy as an example, one of my favorite brands, by the way, you're collecting data on that search behavior, what you look for, what products you look for. And you've opted into sharing that information because we have privacy rights now. And when you do that, that data gets interpreted through algorithms behind the scenes that can tell you, hey, this person was highly interested in this flat screen TV. It costs $4.99 a day. We have two options. We take that high interest and we say we need to bring the price down so we can get them to convert, or we test around bringing the price up because some people are attracted to a premium storyline, right? Yeah. And so they're using that information to help create the best shopping experience for you. Right. I'll leave it at that. If you want to go down conspiracy theory, you can go down that. But I do believe the true intention for a retailer is to use that information to give you the best shopping experience. Yeah. Okay, so that's what's happening when we talk about dynamic pricing in today's world. But where the future world may exist is if you look at LLMs like a ChatGPT, a Claude, Gemini, Manus, Gronk, if you're on Twitter following that world, what we're looking at is in those environments, only 10% of the people that actually use those platforms are actually paying for it. Mm-hmm. So there is going to be a point in which they have to drive some incremental revenue. And that could come through ads. That could come through commerce, right? Yeah. Right? And so the question becomes, how do we use this a wonderful wealth of information we get through AI and chats to make the shopping experience a little bit better? And there is a potential, Desmond, that might heighten or enhance the existing dynamic pricing that we already have through cookie-based databases that help us improve the shopping experience. So we'll see where that goes. Yeah. But that's kind of what happens. Whenever you're on the web and you're looking for things, you're sharing information. And even if you're not on the web, even if you just have a loyalty card, those are all data points that helps a retailer, a CPG, a big box store, help dynamically improve your shopping experience so that they get better conversions, but also you find the things that you want better, faster, and more effectively.
Right. Thank you for breaking that down, Jason.
Yeah, sorry if that was long. But.
No, it was perfect because I believe as the everyday consumer, we don't question enough what's behind that or underneath that hood of the engine, right? To understand why our user experience is this or that as we go to a website, right? Or even offline, right?
That's right.
As well. And
you scan that loyalty card, right?
Exactly. And that there's technology behind that, there's strategy behind that, there's insights that's all powering that and what the difference might be next time around. Right. So, Jason, as you know, in our industry of advertising agencies, there's this debate on, as a brand, if I have a unique problem that I need solving, do I hire an agency, right? And have someone or a company that's 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door, tackle that problem? Or do I lean into my in-house staff, right? And keep it inside those doors? What's your take on one or the other?
It's a good question. I'm going to be as vulnerable and honest about what I think is an opportunity within in-housing. Number one, well, there are two things. In-housing is a healthy thing for the industry, number one. And here's why. If you're a business and you're trying to grow, the thing that keeps you up at night is, do you have the expertise that's innately accessible to what's most important to your business? Think about it this way. You know, I've got kids, you got kids. You do not have kids.
No kids.
You live in a dream right now, Alan. Living a dream. Okay. And so part of it is like, yeah, you can always get a babysitter to help out when you need to get things done, but there's nothing like being there with your kid because you know them inside out. Okay. Yeah. And your brand is like your child, right? And so doesn't mean that you don't outsource aspects of that support system. You know, maybe you need someone to help get them to school on a Monday, right? Maybe you need someone to help them learn karate. Those aren't your expertise areas, but there are some core traits that you want from your home that you want to be a part of. And I think that's what in-housing is. In-housing is simply saying there are innate values that we want to have close proximity to so that we feel confident about where our brand is going. Right. And we believe that the people that work within our organization can achieve that to its best capacity. Simple enough. Yeah. But using the child analogy, they also realize that there are things that we don't do very well. Okay. And those things may represent access to TV inventory. That may improve things like access to technology, right? So whatever those things are, you know, they represent an opportunity, I think, for agencies to really become more prolific in their partnership. Right. So when I look at in-housing versus hiring an agency, there are two dynamics that can really be addressed to make that collaboration more harmonious, if you will. The first is really around operations. So I've worked with a number of brands that have in-house capabilities. And what you don't know and what doesn't make its way into Ad Age is brand A, they have a wealth of internal ways of working, actually, that work really well for them, okay? But they have about 5 or 6 or 10 different agencies that help them complement those processes, Desmon and Alan. And for the 5 to 10 agencies, take a guess. They all have their own processes. Okay. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're going, we got a good base here, but what we need is for you 5 or 10 folks to come on board and make it easy for us to scale our process so that we're able to go to market more efficiently, more effectively, right, and more confidently. Yeah. So the first opportunity, I think, when you talk about in-housing versus hiring an agency is there is a great opportunity on both the agency and the brand side to think about technology and solutions that can bring those processes together under one house, one unit, one collaborative effort. And this is a massive challenge for the industry.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done. Yeah. But that can take you, there was actually a study in A&A said 2 things. Number one, the lack of connectivity of these processes does 2 things. It costs brands anywhere from 15 to 20% annual revenue. So look at it this way. Let's look at it this way. So you're a $10 million small business. Can you afford to lose $2 million in revenue? You cannot. That's staff, that's resources, that's overhead. Yeah. Okay, so you can't afford that. And I would say the second thing really is around the talent, right? And so now you have an opportunity to think about, how do I inspire the talent within my agencies or within my in-house team? Because the work that talent at an agency is doing now should and will look much different. I don't want to necessarily hire someone that's amazing in Excel these days, okay? I can do that through a number of different AI platforms. But what I do want to now hire within my brand and my agency, if I'm in-housing, are people that are skilled in being able to connect together. So that human aspect that is now being undervalued because we have people working on so many mundane efforts, if you apply that technology through a company that might be in-housing and you focus your talent recruitment efforts on human connectivity, I think the stars start to align, the fireworks start to blow up. And then last thing I'll say on it, now you're inspiring people to want to work for your business. Now you're inspiring people that are coming out of college that have great degrees, or inspiring the entrepreneur that never went to college but actually launched 5 businesses to come into this world because they're doing true people-based work that's complemented by operational connectivity between the in-house teams and the agency. Those are my thoughts. I could be crazy Ray, but that's where my head is these days.
Right on point. The one problem still, though, I would say is that let's just speak to the agency side for a second alone. We have an agency near Tent, and we're a smaller agency on the smaller side. As a small agency, we look at big agencies like they already have the market, right? We have to get lucky sometimes and get the benefit of the doubt to get the opportunity, right? How does a smaller agency, you would say, kind of manage that fight? How does a small agency knock on the door of a big pharma, CPG, retail, whatever vertical you have and get that opportunity? Because it seems rare.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Listen, the beautiful thing about you guys is you are smart business owners. So I'm almost intimidated by trying to give a perspective on this question because I'm sure you've thought about it, you're addressing it, and you're winning. So if I say anything, you're like, dude, we did that 5 years ago. Please don't kick my butt. But, I think what happens here is like, I don't think many brands right now, certainly the ones that are doing innovative things. I'll put it that way. If you're doing innovative things, I'll mention one brand that I'm passionate about right now because it meets my world. It's a brand called Element. So they're an electrolyte replacement. Okay. And you look at it and there's a bunch of different brands in this category. Okay. But this is actually meeting a high nutrition value, low sugar count value, and it's speaking to a lifestyle of a particular customer, and they need to compete fast. Yeah. If you have brands like that, guess what, Alan? They don't want bloat in anything that they're doing.
Authenticity.
They don't want heavy loads of workflow, costs, effort. Right. And so I will say this, many holding companies, and what's amazing about what holdcos are doing now is they're being really dynamic around how they bring their value to market. Something that I was proud to be a part of during my time at Publicis. So taking specific instances out, at a macro level, hold companies represent bloat, extra weight for these innovative companies. And so where's the opportunity for a smaller brand like you guys? The opportunity for a smaller brand like you guys is, as I mentioned before, is being able to mitigate that bloat, okay? It's difficult to break up, a holding company solution where you got 5 different agencies doing the same thing, okay? The moment that the brand wants to move fast, they have to go through 5 different channels to get it done, okay? Right. How about a narrative? What we can do is we don't have that bloat. We don't have that bureaucracy. We actually have the speed and this particular expertise around what to your point, your specific problem. Yep. This is what brands want today. Yep. They want partners that know how to solve specific problems. Yeah. They want people that know how to solve specific problems. And they want technology and data that know how to solve specific problems. And I think that is the opportunity that will exist for holdcos and mid or small size businesses. But it's about who can get there fastest and who can get there, to your point earlier, with the most authenticity. Yeah. Meaning you can truly do it. It's not just on paper, right? And what will that require? This is my challenge to the industry. What that will require is thinking about accelerated strategic specialization, okay? And so you've heard of the gift and the curse of Da Vinci. The gift is Da Vinci can do anything. Yeah. Scientists, artists, anything you can, astrologer. Right. There's a gift in that if you're really good at all those things. The curse in that is you're a jack of all trades, a master of none. Okay? And so back to that athletic mindset is going, I see the game that's being played by the larger competitors. I know the challenge for emerging brands, which is less bloat. How can I solve that problem with a dynamic and agile approach that, like we said earlier, we're not one of the solutions, we're the solution.
There we go.
Those are my thoughts, man. Yeah.
The other thing to tack onto that too, I would say, is the passion that you get as well. Yeah. And the hunger you get. Yeah. Right. When you remove all that baggage that being bigger can come with, it's, we know that we're gonna be ambitious about a new client that is coming into our door because it's all we got. Yeah. Yeah. This is a case study. That's right. And especially in our world, every piece of work has to be a case study. Right. Because we have no choice. We kill what we eat. We eat what we kill. That's right. You know what I mean? I think that can be the difference as well, where for us, a team of 10 people, these are all of our starters, right? We're all the Navy SEALs of this. We're the A players because there is no room for a bench right That's right. now. Whereas in other cases, there may be a A team, a B team, a C team, and the A team is the one that gets the time of day, right? Yes. Or gives the time of day to the big guys on their client roster. So
it's a great point. And can I build on that?
Yes, sir.
You made me think of something. Like I said, you guys are the experts, and of course, Desmon's like, yeah, I'm thinking about this, and they got my brain going, Alan. Is something that is a human attraction for people, professionally, in life, in relationships, and anything. A human attraction is equity. Equity means that the amount of work and time I put into something, it will actually produce a growing positive result for me as well. That's what equity is, okay? And so it eliminates the concept of transactional behaviors, which is, and remember, transactional behaviors is like a new thing. Decades, centuries ago, the only way you made money was you had to start your own thing. Everyone was an entrepreneur. Right. And the reason that you got value out of it is because as you put that work in, you realize an intrinsic value or return. And so that's another amazing opportunity that I hadn't even thought about, Desmond, until you referenced it, from a talent recruitment perspective. And also from a pitching perspective to these brands is, if I'm a brand and I'm starting something that's amazing, I want a partner that wants to grow with me. And also wants to suffer with me.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I want, you know? Because if I know I'm just a little speck on your roster of clients, I don't care how cheap your TV ads can be for me. Because the moment that they don't work, all you're going to do is translate that team over to this other large company. Right? Those are dirty little secrets that the brands, they know these things, but when it hits your business, when you're right at a holiday sale and, you know, maybe you had to cut budget because you had a bad shareholder or stakeholder meeting, you know, and you're looking for, where's my A+ team? Half of them been redeployed. Okay. But if you have a partner like you all that says, we're in this just like you're in this. When you rise, we rise. And most people, most great talented people, they want to work somewhere where they have that kind of exchange. And I think that's a very unique trait that companies like yours can bring to have a dynamic impact on where the market is going. And I'm excited about it.
The way I look at it is we always have this debate, right? Now we're in a space, athlete perspective, like NILs and like different deals, and these athletes picking different brands to sign with. They have all these options, right? You got the Nikes, you got the Adidas, you got the Under Armours, you got all different types of things. And then they sign with a certain brand. They're like, oh, how come they didn't sign with this brand?
Right.
And that's how I imagine those brands sell these premier athletes. Like, hey, yeah, you can go sign to Nike or whatever, but you're just going to be another athlete. Nike has this athlete, this athlete, this athlete. Where are you going to fall in that realm? What we can do is that, yeah, we're not as prominent as Nike, but we're featuring you, right?
Absolutely.
So as you succeed, we succeed together, right? So now you're a priority versus just another brand and this a star-studded list of roster that these other brands have. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it.
Couldn't have said it better. Alan, spot on, man.
You guys seen the movie Air by any chance?
Oh, it's been on my list so much. Tell me more.
Not to give it away, but there's a moment in the movie where, you know, they're looking at Nike compared to Adidas, compared to maybe Reebok, and figuring out, you know, what athlete, what the athlete will get based on what brand they're at.
Sure.
And I believe it may have been Adidas. And they're like, yeah, if Jordan goes to Adidas, he'll get drowned out by whoever the big guys were at that time in the NBA.
That's right.
But if he comes to Nike, we don't have, you know, a Mount Rushmore right now. This will be our Mount Rushmore. Jordan will be the guy.
That's right.
And that's the difference.
It's a huge difference. And people are attracted to that. They want to be a part of something. We can't forget that. Everyone wants to feel like they're a part of creating and building something. And if they don't, then that should maybe reposition your analysis of that talent. Right. But people that want that, they are attracted to that story. And you're right. I think Air and what was done there, and you know, even, you know, quickly what's happening with New Balance and Cooper Flag. I think that's a great current modern example.
That's
right?
literally a perfect example, because he could have signed to any brand. He picked that brand because they probably were like, hey, you're going to be great. We're building up this. Sorry, we have our roster. We got the Kawhi Leonards. We got the other people. Jamal Murray, I believe, is on there. But hey, you can be the new, guard of what's happening. And I think that's what they have to do. And I'm happy that brands, bigger brands, are understanding that. Like, hey, you might not be able to compete here, but this is our niche, like you said before. Speaking of that, before we get back into the nitty-gritty, we talked about brands and stuff. You mentioned Best Buy being one of your favorite brands.
Oh, big time.
I don't think I've heard anyone say that in a little while, right? Can you? Why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, so I mean, I won't speak on them specifically, but what I will speak on is I think the power of what I call traditional brands.
Yeah.
And I define traditional as a brand that you can rely on and you can trust.
Gotcha.
Okay, perhaps they don't have all the latest flair. Perhaps they aren't, giving you the fanciest Instagram post, but you can rely on them. And I think that's part of what brands like Best Buy and others really represent to me, and they're brands that I'm really passionate about supporting, is because what we're looking for now as a consumer and what I think we're looking for in our businesses is just confidence and consistency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the understanding of what is it that a particular segment of audiences actually need. And if I'm looking at Best Buy or big box retail or, anyone else, what they know and they understand is what's going to make you tick, right? Mm-hmm. And how they can show up with that on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And so keeping it really simple, I think that's why some of those brands really have a big impact on me.
Yeah. You want to transition to the future stuff, man? Like we've been
up,
saying,
man.
we talked about the past, we talked about the present. Now let's talk about what's next, man. Like, we talked about that a little bit, but for you, for the company that you're investing in now and the things that you're doing, it sounds amazing, man. Can you tell us and our audience, what does the next 3-5 years look like for you, ideally, and how that's stacking on top of each other?
Man, Alan, I wish I had the luxury of 3 to 5 years, man. But I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've been thinking about not only for me, but I have this conversation with anyone in the industry.
Yeah.
And so you asked me about how I define myself, and I've always defined myself as someone that's agile and really preparing for the future.
Yeah.
And so the work that I'm doing now with BetterCo Ventures, and underneath that whole co is Better RFP, which is helping to streamline the RFP process to help emerging and competitive brands compete faster, more effectively. Mm-hmm. And then Opternal, which is taking the operational layer of that connectivity and accelerating that at speed and scale. Mm-hmm. So I'll look at those because I say, right now, everyone is trying to figure out how to move faster.
Yeah.
The consumer wants to realize interaction way faster than ever before. It started with social media.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're scrolling and we expect everything to be on demand. Yep. Then it went into Amazon. If you can't get your product delivered to you within 24 hours, you're pissed off. Okay?
2 days max.
Oh my gosh. And then it goes into ChatGPT. I was on ChatGPT yesterday and I was working within some other platforms, and I was getting frustrated that I couldn't get like a 30-page analysis within like 2 minutes. Do you see what I'm saying?
Expectations grow.
The expectations continue to increase. Yeah. And so when I look at the next 6 to 12 months, in very simple terms, all I want to do is help brands, competitive agencies, and consumers be more satisfied with that speed expectation than they've ever been before. That's all I want. Yeah. And if we can be a small part of that, I think that will be not only fulfilling to me as a human, because beyond the business person, I'm also a shopper. I'm also a dad. I'm also a husband. Yeah. I'm also a business owner. I'm also a community engager. And so if I can solve those problems for people that are doing great work, it also, back to the equity element, it improves the value in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where I'm focusing my energy. Mm-hmm. And we're moving at such a quick pace, guys, that, 5 years from now, if we can't figure some of this stuff out within the next few months, we may be looking at, we may have a little bit more dust on our shoulders than we probably planned.
Yeah. Yep.
So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. It's a big vision.
Yeah.
Big vision. One that's needed,
For sure.
And a big vision, I imagine, or I know, requires a team as well behind it. So right now, it may be you and a few select partners that are helping you bring it to life. Beyond that, though, and as you scale BetterCo Ventures, Jason, and you tap more into that leadership component that's required of that, when I think about that, I think that, right now it starts with mindset. It starts with transferring your mindset into a culture, a team culture, as that team builds behind you. But we all know from seeing scale in business that there can be some friction that comes into play too when you're battling between the culture you're building in your company and then what the demands are business wise.
Absolutely.
How do you find a sweet spot between both of those?
It's a great question. And culture is something that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And when I've had success in my career, I've been surrounded by a wonderful culture. And when I failed, I haven't. And that doesn't mean the culture was bad. It means that the culture wasn't aligned to my values. And so I'm getting at that because when I think about bridging the speed and ambition of what we're trying to accomplish, you know, with the realities of our day-to-day challenges and what kind of culture I want to create, a big part of it is rooted in 2 to 3 factors. The one is a culture of accepting attempts and the failures that come along with it.
Yeah.
I want people to take more shots.
Ooh.
That's what I want.
But that's a bar right there, man. We
That's
literally
what
were
I
saying
want.
that. Yeah, we were saying that the other week.
You know what I'm saying?
Shoot the ball.
I want people shooting the ball. And where I've failed, because I have failed, by the way. Like I have failed in my career.
Yeah.
And where I have failed is when I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to shoot shots.
Yeah.
I've been training. I've been in the gym. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But my coach is like, don't shoot. There's other players supposed to shoot.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do, and the people that I want coming to work with me and working with what we're doing, are people that want to be in an environment where they can shoot shots and we will celebrate those misses as long as you're back in the gym the next day.
Right.
Okay?
Wow.
Now, if you're not coming back to work out and work those kinks out, then that's a different scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
But number one, that is the kind of culture that I want. Number two, the culture that I must have. And if you guys know me, and hopefully some people get to learn about me on this podcast, is I have an underdog mentality.
Yeah.
I want to see people that are underrepresented, meaning you're a small challenger business, you've been overlooked, but your potential is so high if someone invested in time and energy with you. I want people within this organization that believe in that, because those are the kind of clients, those are the kind of brands, those are the people that we want to engage with. And then I would say the last is a relentless commitment to collaboration, because we talked about it at the beginning. No team can be successful without intentional collaboration, knowing what your other team player needs to get accomplished, understanding the value of Mary, who is great at your organization's finances, but has 2 kids at home. And actually she has a different dynamic in her world than you do as a brilliant young 25-year-old that doesn't have that same situation.
Right.
Understanding that and how you can bring not only the in between the line work, but outside the line work together to collaboratively achieve success.
Yeah.
That's the kind of culture that I want. And I hope most companies that want to succeed in today's climate and in the future are willing to embrace.
Wow.
100%.
Sure.
Man. There's this Jordan quote you both have heard, I'm sure, where he says, like, why would I be worried about taking a shot that I haven't
taken
shot yet?
That's right.
That's it.
Every shot
Keep
you don't
shooting
take
at
is
the
a
rim.
shot you miss.
All right.
Yeah.
Every shot you don't take.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I think about that in life. You know, you go, oh man, you know, and that's what I encourage people to think about in today's climate.
Yeah.
Is right now with the advent of technology, everyone has now a new court to go play on. And it's a question of whether you are willing to strap up your sneakers and get out there and just try.
Yep.
What an opportunity.
Or, Jason, there's more franchise opportunities too.
Yes, absolutely.
As well.
Yes.
So go own something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's in front of you, and risk aversion is something I know. I'll speak for myself. Culturally, I grew up with. You know, I grew up with the scarcity mindset. You know, every meal you have, every dollar you get.
Yeah.
You know, and I grew up in a time where, you know, people work for the same company for 50 years and they live and still live off of a wonderful benefit called pension. You know, people that are listening to this, you probably never heard of that. Because it's such an antiquated way of thinking about how we work and how we thrive.
Yeah.
So it can create risk aversion. But I think having a healthy appetite for risk can be a beneficial thing right now, particularly if you're in a place in partnership with the right culture.
Yeah. Wow. This is an amazing conversation, man. Like I love talking to masterminds like yourself, man. Just being able to just have organic conversations about business, personal, how it all applies together, man. So this was phenomenal, bro.
For sure.
We got to get you back.
Hey.
Got to get you back soon.
My guys, I appreciate you guys.
This is exactly what we needed, man. Exactly what we needed in more ways than one. So I'll close this out. If that's cool with you all, man. I mean, we could talk off camera.
One last question.
But yeah,
of course, man.
Speaking directly to the next Jason Smith.
Yeah.
One that's right now in the trenches, paying their dues, figuring out, do I go left, do I go right, do I cut straight down the middle? What's your message to that guy or that girl or whomever, and how do they get there?
Yeah. No, and you guys, if you haven't captured it, the way my mind works is I try to keep mental philosophy in simple categories or simple templates. And I do tend to think in threes. Yeah. And so if you hear that a lot, it's a way for me to keep thoughts constrained and managed. And so for me, I think about that business owner, that person that's innovating, and you waking up some days and it feels tough.
Yeah.
I had a day like that yesterday. I had a paywall situation that it could have broken me down. But where it goes in terms of what's next and how you can navigate that stuff is, number one is always have a solution-based mindset. Always have a solution-based mindset. We looked at something yesterday. We sat down and we go, this really, really sucks. But what's the opportunity in that? Wow. So you have to see a challenge as an opportunity.
Yeah.
That is really, really important. If I'm going to get animated about anything, that is the way to find success.
Yeah.
Because the more you look at challenges as a deterrent, you'll never start. You'll never continue.
Yeah.
And that means you'll never do what? Never finish.
Yeah. Or you never win.
And you'll never win. Okay? And so you have to, see every challenge as an opportunity. That's an entrepreneur. That's a winning mindset. Second thing, which is a little less prolific, but I'm a big believer in, take care of your health.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Because you have to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy spirit to be able to show up in the appropriate ways when you're faced with those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is, then I'll get a little hippy dippy. Have an abundant mindset.
Yeah.
I don't know if my coach, Dr. Erica Montgomery, is listening to this, but think more about all the things that are present and available to you.
Wow.
Sometimes you think about it, you lost that partnership and you focus so much on that, but then you forget you got these other 5 over here that no one else has.
It's gratitude.
What is that gratitude?
Yeah.
And I know that is a little bit of a philosophical perspective, but when you're dealing with challenging things, what helps you continue forward and helps you find success, it is mindset. Yeah. And it's thinking through every challenge is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Where's my health and wellness? Am I able to show up with a sense of positivity? And Alan, you hit it on the head. Where's my sense of every moment gratitude?
Yeah.
And I think if those can be persistent, it not only shapes the way that you work, but it also shapes the way that people want to work with you. Yeah. No one wants to work with people that have a negative vibe. And I've been there. Right. I want you guys to know, and to the audience, I've been the person that has had a negative vibe because I didn't have those things in perspective. Yeah. And I notice how great things come to me, and I find great things when I apply that kind of mindset. Yeah. So, Desmond, I hope that helps, man.
Absolutely, man. Cool. Most importantly, it helps the people listening and watching. Yeah. We want, again, people that are either in your position or on their way to being, and frankly, may surpass all of us, right? Because
that's the goal.
The greater picture is to take our stories or your story as a case study, right? And put some sauce on it and toss it up and, have a better recipe at the end of the day. So
absolutely, fellas.
So
appreciate y'all, man. Yes, sir, man.
This has been Marketing Mentality. If you're not already, subscribe, like, comment, send to a friend. Jason here, our friend, dropped some amazing nuggets, man. Great conversation. Check out the full episode. Listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll be back very soon. Appreciate y'all.